Dear Heavenly Father, help us to do the business of Elkhorn County in the best way for its citizens. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Call the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Thompson.
Here.
Small.
Here.
Brady.
Here.
Gothier.
Here.
Norman.
Here. Move to approve the minutes of June 16th.
Second. Motion by Brumman, seconded by Small to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'd like to open for public comment at this time. 3-minute limit.
I'd like to pop in on public comment if it's available.
That would be great.
Great. Sorry, not on the agenda. Dave Hanson from Building and Grounds Department. Just touching base on something I wasn't able to get on the agenda real quick. Adam and I had a discussion a couple of weeks ago about some tree issues out here in the yard. There's 2 of them that are dying and they're pretty much hollow in the center. We start losing branches every time the wind's blowing. We'd like to see about getting them removed, possibly before the Labor Day weekend. We went out and got estimates on them. We got one from Griffin's Son. Their estimate for removing the trees and stump grinding was $1,500. Greg's Tree Service was $2,500 for the same thing, to cut down the trees and to grind the stumps. The major issue is both companies are going to have to use a crane because the one is so close to 23 to keep it safe from going in the road, and the one over here is next to the driveway. It's either going to go into the blacktop or into the monument, so they're going to use a crane on both of the trees to keep them safe. And this one over here is just as bad as the other one because the whole center of it's gone in the center of it. So we are probably going to do that between now and the Labor Day weekend. I'm waiting for the final cost to come in on the Sheriff's Department project and the sewer line replacement to see how much that total cost was. So I'm just getting your guys' opinion if you guys think we should go ahead.
Is a crane included?
Yes,
Oh.
on both estimates.
Yeah, so Griffin's,
Griffin's Son was a little bit cheaper.
yeah, quite a
So-
bit. Yeah, quite
Yeah,
a
well, they
bit.
broke it down basically per tree, whereas the other one just gave me a flat rate for both trees type of thing.
They're hauling everything away.
They're gonna haul everything away, so I don't have to deal with anything other than just cleaning up where they stump grinding. Both of them include the grinding out of that. And you're looking which ones it is. There's one out here with green tape on it, and the other one is over there in the corner of the property with green tape on it, right down by 23.
Where is it?
Go for it.
Oh, here it is.
Then coming back on that, just a final reflection on the Sheriff's Department project. We did get the sewer line out replaced. It was a lot more issues there than we thought once we dug it up. The main reason we started having issues where the line was plugging once a week and we were having to clean it out. Once we excavated the main line coming out of the building department, underneath the parking lot where it switched from cast iron to the old 2-foot pieces of tile, one of the pieces had actually cracked and was sucking sand into it and actually plugging the whole line. And so that was just going to be a big problem by the end of summer. So we did catch that early enough. The soil wasn't contaminated. It only started leaching out just a little bit at a time. So we did catch that. Their price for the plumbers and 2 days worth of work over there was $8,000. We got a $400 bill for Alcona Septic Service for the use of the porta-johns. We had 6 porta-johns over there for the jail, building department, for the sheriff's department. And I'm still waiting for the bill to come in for the excavators because the same thing, they were here for 2 days. We did a major upgrade on it. We straightened all the pipes out because it was just a mess. They tied into the old tile in 2 separate places. Even like when they brought the new jail out, they tied it into the old tile. That system was failing, the connection they had on there. So now it's 4-inch lines all the way out to the main line, and then from the building all the way to the street is now a 6-inch drain line. So that should take care of almost all of our issues over there. We still have to deal with the cast iron pipes inside the building, and we're checking into a couple different options there. They do make a couple different companies that do pipelining on cast iron pipes. As long as they're on grade, buried in the ground, it's a matter of injecting like a sock material inside of there with an epoxy coating. They expand it out and it lines the entire side of the pipes and gives them almost new life. They'll last a lot longer. So that is one of the long-term issues we're going to look at there. It's either that or possibly having to jackhammer up all the floors, which we don't want to get into. So other than that, we're doing pretty good.
Not very many.
So, any questions on that?
Good job.
All right.
Nope, thanks. We got some talking here. I gotta figure out how to bring it back to. Oh, I see. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, so hearing none, we'll move on to John. Well, do you want to do Presskill first? We'll have John. John, why don't you?
Just 2 seconds.
All right, go ahead.
Our current Polycom system is, you can see it's not working properly. We're having issues with it. It's dying. There was no court system that we had. In order to continue doing video conferencing, there's a couple different options. One is the owl. We mount the ceiling. It would also give us 3D coverage of everyone in the room. It's got an 18-foot mic. It's about $1,200 or $1,300. Currently, we're paying an extra $500 for the Polycom license. But that cost will go away. So if we continue to do the video conferencing system, it will pay for itself in 2 years. The other option is a Logitech system that would sit out here. I'm going to recommend the owl for this conference room, and about $1,200 or $1,300 to do it. I don't know how much longer this Polycom is going to last.
Okay.
I've band-aided it for, I can't tell you how long. But
All right, thanks. Okay, moving on. Well, since we have the presentation all up and ready to go, let's let Presque Electric and Gas Co-op do their presentation for the broadband.
First, thanks for letting us lead your meeting. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board. My name is Tom Sovek. I'm the president and CEO of Presque Electric and Gas. Dan Larson is our director of broadband operations. We decided to get into fiber to the home officially about a year ago. We started looking into auction possibilities with the FCC. We were moderately successful, and the board committed to providing fiber to the home in our service territory earlier this year. So we're excited to begin the project. Alcona County is one of the less, we have fewer services in Alcona County. We have about 500 electric accounts, but we have about 1,300 natural gas accounts in Alcona County too. So,
okay, 2 minutes.
whoops.
And that's starting now.
With that, I'll turn it over to Ruth Ann and let her go through our project as it sits today.
And I hope my phone doesn't go off because I didn't turn either of them on mute, so they're over there. Hopefully they'll just be quiet. I'm Ruth Ann Largent. I'm the head of broadband at PING, and just going to go over the project a little bit. Going to get you, up to speed on what we're doing and what we're going to be doing. First, just want to introduce myself. I am kind of new to PING. I've been working there since January. I actually started working in July of last year. I did some cybersecurity work for them, and then came on board as the broadband lead in January. That was my goal. Very big interest in that area. I've been in IT for over 30 years. Worked at all of these different places here. Started out as a programmer. Worked myself into voice and data engineering, and then a lot of IT leadership. My last position, I was the CIO at a global tow bar company. Maybe you know Fulton or Bulldog, those brands. Those were the brands of the company that I was at. I'm married, and I have 3 grown children, and that dog that you can't see because it's behind the chat. There we go. And I currently live in Hawks. So I've been there since March of last year. I still have a house downstate that I'm selling. And so it's been kind of a little hectic doing all that, but having a great time at PING, and this is a great project. So it's well worth it. Okay. So this is our service area. This is the PING service area, and the broadband network is going to follow that same service area. We are going to take advantage of the poles and the underground areas throughout this space. The locations listed are where the substations are located, and that is an important part you'll see in a little bit. So what are we doing? We're going to implement the broadband, and it's fiber to the home. We have a partner called Connexon, and Connexon works specifically with co-ops to implement fiber to the home network. So they're very well versed in what needs to happen in construction and service and everything to do with fiber networks. And they've been an excellent partner for us. They're helping us move forward a lot faster than if we would try to do that on our own. The internet service to the house is going to be up to 1 gig. It's a symmetrical service, so the upload and the download speeds are the same. And on top of internet service, we will be having voice services, but we will not be offering a cable type service. You can stream video on the network, but we're not going to have the typical cable service. And then there'll also be a mobile app that goes with our service that helps you control the application or the internet service within your house. It allows you to control some of the access to there, and it also has security. So just going to tell you a little bit about the networks. GPON is the kind of network it is, and this is the architecture. And the only thing that's really interesting about this is that there is electronics called an OLT, which is our head end, and that is what's going to be at our substations. And from the OLT all the way to the home, which is where the ONT is, there are no electronics. So it's all just light being bent and sent through that area to form the GPON network. And here's just another picture of that. You see at the electric substation is where the OLT and then the light goes through. There's the taps, and those taps go into the homes. And then each substation is connected to form the backbone of the network. And it looks a little bit like this. This is not the exact design, but it's similar, where the different substations are all connected together, and then from those substations we go out to the homes, just like the electric service. There's different ways to connect to the subscribers. You can use a splitter architecture or a tap architecture. At our network, we're going to be using the tap architecture. And the difference is on splitter, which you see in a lot of locations, you come from, here we go. You come from this OLT that's in the substation, and you go out to cabinets in the field. And then from these cabinets, you're going to the individual homes. In a splitter, you have the electronics in the substation, but as you pass homes on your poles, you're tapping in and dropping in, connecting the house. So the tap architecture works better in areas where houses are farther apart, farms, long areas where you have to go before you're going to get another connection. The splitter is more for a city or apartment buildings and things like that. We are pure tap architecture. I just know a lot of people know Great Lakes Energy. They have areas that are more dense, and they're using the splitter rather than the tap. And this is where we'll be installing the fiber on our poles. So as you can see, there's 3 different kind of dedicated spaces, and a normal cable TV or telephone goes in the communication space, which is the lowest end of the pole. We've chosen to go into this neutral space because it's a little bit higher above the trees, and we feel like it will have better operations. We'll have less outages and less things really touching the fiber at that level. So what does a tap look like? This is a tap. This is closed and open, and then this is what it looks like on a pole. You might have seen some of these now with DSL. Sometimes you see like these enclosures that are hanging on those poles. It's a different kind of enclosure, but basically the same thing is that that's where the wires are connected, and this tap is where it would jump off of the backbone and come to a home. And then once it hits the home, once you're at your home, it would be the network interface device, or the NID. And this is what a NID looks like, and this would be on the outside of the home. And then from there, it would go into your home, into whatever room in your house you desire. And these are huts at our substations. So These are where the electronics are. So at each of our substations, not every substation, some substations are covering more than one area. But these huts are delivered, they're cement buildings. In fact, we're getting our first 4 delivered next week, and that's why I was a little delayed here. We're kind of following up on that. When these things are loaded and not loaded, just set like that under, they're 45,000 pounds. So quite a big thing. We have a big crane that's coming and gonna put them on the pad that we poured. And then there'll be some electronics in the middle there. These are empty right now, but this is exactly what it will look like. So to build this network design, what do you need to do? Well, to start with, you need a digital representation of your electric poles. And when we started, we were all gung-ho to go, and we had some data, but we realized we don't have all of our data. So we have to inventory every single electrical pole at this point. And then that data is taken and fed into a system that then creates your network design. We have been doing this inventory. We started, well, it shows right here. The RFP went out for the first section, which was 13,353 poles. We chose a company called Davies. It's Davies Resource Group. They're not the ones that do trees. It's another division of that same company. And so that we have to go ahead and then do the inventory. So we started that back in May, and the last thing, we have all of Onaway and all of Canada Creek complete at this point. So we are on our way. So when you build a network, these are the 7 stages of the network. And you can look at this as like a per electric feeder area. So first, inventory and make ready engineering. And that's where they go ahead and inventory the pole and figure out what's in the way of stringing up the fiber. Then there's make ready construction, where they actually connect the fiber they move everything out of the way so that the fiber can then go on the pole. Then there's fiber construction, where they come through and put the fiber on the different poles. Then they splice it and put the taps on. Then they have to put your service drop in, they splice your drop, and then you have your in-home installation. So all of these things have to happen prior to someone getting service. And we are doing this on a per feeder, per substation feeder basis, again and again, the same process. You'll see us talk about this even in our communications to the public. You'll see this on our website. This is basically what it takes to do the construction portion. But saying that, the construction portion is only one portion of providing the service, right? To me, the business system development is actually harder than the construction because it's less physical and less spatial, I guess. So we have websites that we have to put together. And this will be for our services and pricing, and this is where people will be able to go to sign up. We have service enablement systems, which are the systems that allow us to turn on and off the service at the levels that the subscriber chooses to subscribe to. We have billing of all of that. I don't know if you've looked at your recent, even your, if you have any landline telephones with all the different taxes and all that has to be done. And then customer service support systems, so that when people call, we'll be ready to answer the questions and provide great service. And then the network monitoring and operations, so that we know when things are going well and proactively are making sure the network is up and running. So we're working on all of this right now. And then just again, the in-home options, it's internet and voice and up to 1 gig. We are going to work on defining this more, and we'll be talking about this publicly soon. But we've been focusing on getting construction kicked off and on its way before we got to this step. And then in-home, I had mentioned that there are some applications. So there's network security. Our system will run so that anything that connects to your network in your house will then have this level of security. So even if you have your cell phone, or if you have a camera, all of these things that people are connecting to the internet now will have this network security supplied through the network itself. And then there's content access. And this will allow you to block undesired sites, or you can set it so that your kids can only get on there until 9 o'clock at night, or there's all different features that you can use on there if you desire. And the cost of this project, so the total project investment is over $130 million. And you've heard that we've gotten RDOF funding. That RDOF funding was $11.2 million over 10 years. So it is a good chunk of money, but when you look at the total cost, it's only a small portion. So we are looking for additional funding, and there are different areas that are available that we're pursuing in all of these different areas. And we're definitely open to any funding ideas. What does the timeline look like? Again, we talked about the pole inventory and the make ready. That started in April, and that will go through the end of September. The network design is starting. It's starting now. We're a little bit behind on there, but it's we've been feeding into the system. We just haven't gotten the output yet for our first feeder. And then we'll start to make ready. The home installs, we see that being in January. All of these things have to happen on the first feeder before we will be ready. And you see underneath there is the business system development needs to be completed. So in January of next year is when we will have our first service, and we'll be doing a pilot test then. And then as I showed you that process, this will be for the first feed, and we'll just do this again and again and again as we go through it. And what does the overall project schedule look like? This is our project schedule. Did we release this to the public?
Yes. Well, it should come out.
Now, yeah, I can take my confidential off there pretty soon. Anyhow, we have these 4 different areas. So this is a 4-phase project. In the first phase, this is the areas that we're going in: Onaway, Canada Creek, Black Lake, Tower, Fingerprinting, Mullet Lake. For all of those, we are going to 4 different substations. Then from there, we go to these other areas. One thing I forgot to say is when the way the TAP architecture works is wherever you start your network, you then sweep from there. You don't put some here and then go over here and here and here. It's a sweeping action because it's TAP, so it's all kind of connected. We are starting in Onaway because the Onaway substation is closest to our headquarters. We will not have any equipment in our new headquarters. And if something happens, that Onaway substation is like the root of everything. It needs to be taken care of, and we need to be able to get to there quickly. Once we established that would be the starting point, then we just needed to find a route to kind of sweep through that whole service area we talked about. So we used to get a lot of questions on why here, why not me, why whatever. And I think Tom purposely assigned me to find that sweeping action because I don't know anyone in the area and I can't play favoritism very well. So this is our schedule. As you can see, let's see. You guys are down here, right? Yeah, 3. Yep. And that's all I have to show. Are there any questions?
So on your last screen, you're projecting 2025 as completion of this whole project? Is that what that says?
No.
That's when it starts there.
It'll start that phase on
Okay.
that day.
Okay.
Those other phases, like 2022, that's the first phase of phase 1, and then it will go probably through 2. It's not exactly because they overlap.
Yeah.
It's not exact year, but about that. If you look at the 2025, that's not a year's worth of work on that last one. Even the one before it is probably not that much. The first one's a pretty big chunk. And then of course, we will learn from the beginning. Having Connexon as a partner, they have these schedules. They have spreadsheets like you've never seen, and got to be on the schedule. So they're gonna make sure that this happens. It's not gonna be like, oh, we didn't think about this or that. They know what to do. We just need to stick with them and stay with the program.
Another question. Tom mentioned there's 500 electric customers and approximately 1,300 gas customers in Alcona. This is just for electric customers, right?
I always look at him. You answer that question.
Our intent, first of all, it's the least expensive for us to follow our electric grid
Right.
because there are poles.
Right.
But at some point, our gas members, our members as well, we're committed to providing service to them. Just not sure it's going to be on the same timeline.
Yeah,
The fortunate thing we have with your county is it's 2 years down the road.
Right.
So we have time to work through some of that and see if we can make that work quicker than we have otherwise.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
So the Alcona County customers, it's the third group, 2024?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
When it starts, yeah.
when it starts, okay.
We're primarily Caledonia and Mitchell Townships for our electric services.
Yeah, right.
For
What other investment, one of your slides said we were open to other investments, can you?
Yeah, the one, we're pursuing a grant right now through the Department of Commerce. The NTIA, National Telecommunications Infrastructure Administration. The other thing that we're pursuing is if you're a township official, you're probably gonna get a letter from me in the next week or so. The ARP funding that's out there, there are 3 areas that it's focused on: water, sewer, and broadband. The struggle that I think a lot of townships are gonna have, a lot of them don't have water, sewer. They don't have broadband either, but they can invest in it. So that's an area that we're looking to tap into. If there's a need in the township, there isn't other targets for that funding, we'd like to have a discussion about that to potentially ease the cost of the burden of our project and just get it along a little bit, or at least keep it on schedule. So that, we're hoping that there's additional funding through the FCC on some level of federal, on the federal level. They had billions that they didn't award because of the way the auction went. That funding is still out there, they just haven't decided how they use it yet. So that's probably 1 or 2 years down the road. And then Connected Nation also, there's some Connect Michigan grant funding coming up that we're hoping to tap into as well. So several funding options that we think are going to show up. And we just want to keep our eyes and ears to them so we can.
Does that add speed to the schedule?
At the very least, it doesn't slow it down.
Well, I mean, you have an initial investment of 130 million, right? You know, I'm just curious how much that would accelerate the scheduling.
Probably can to some degree, but I'll be honest with you, we have to build 4,000 miles of fiber, 3,000 in the air and 1,000 on the ground. We live where it snows and the ground freezes,
Yes.
so there's a limit to what we can do in a given year from that perspective.
And the second part of my question is the openness to co-op. For instance, Consumers Energy is a big player in this area and working directly with them on their whole infrastructure.
Yes, we are absolutely open to working with, we have to, because it's 75% more expensive to bury fiber than it is to put it on the pole. So to the extent we can partner with consumers to do that, we absolutely want to do.
I had a quick question. I'm one road from Alpena County. I have PI&G gas, but I have Consumers Energy. I wouldn't know if I was looking at a Consumers Energy pole or a PI&G pole. I don't know if this is something, would it be an option for, is there a grid and I'm just off of it, or?
I could look it up and let you know how far you are from us on poles. I can't really tell off the top of my head. But, what's your last name?
Eller?
Ellen? Upper Lake area?
Spruce.
Yeah, we're a bit from that area with our system, but I can give you a better idea.
I mean, yeah, your gas substation's like right at the end of the road, and,
Okay.
yeah, like I said, I wouldn't know what pole I was looking at.
never used to look at pools either, but I can't not look at them anymore. That's all I see when I go outside, pools.
Alcona County is in the process of getting all of our assets category. What's the word? Inventory. In the ground and both in poles or whatever we have.
Okay.
Now, if we have in-ground assets available, is that something that you could tie into and use?
At this point, I'm not gonna say no to anything.
Right.
My ignorance of the process would cause me to be wrong if I said yes or no.
Sure. But once we have our survey, we could come and talk to you guys about, okay, great.
You're gonna inventory all your assets?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're in the process right now.
You're already doing it?
Yep.
Who's doing it?
Starts in August and Connect Nations.
Yeah, and engineering.
Yeah. Maybe you should just look, see what they're collecting to make sure there's a crossover.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
There's a lot of misinformation about what's in the ground, what's on the poles. So we decided that would be one of the very first things we were going to do is know what it was.
Right.
Before we started figuring out what it needed to be.
There's a lot of providers, a lot of counties out there right now asking, what do we have? And so we don't duplicate and spend our money foolishly or unwisely to duplicate an effort in certain areas. So
Okay. There's just some fields that we require in order to feed into the design system, so might as well just see if that's what you
Well, they're
want.
going to provide us a GIS mapping, coordinates and data.
Yep.
And
Okay.
we'll find out if it has to be lighter or heavier based on what we find out. But I believe that the weight of their data is going to be heavy. And then it can be downsized. Now, we'll work with anybody. That's why we're doing this, is to try to create that vertical asset inventory that we already have.
Mhm.
And there's another inventory. So leave it at that.
If another thing, I mean, for Northern Michigan, this is just a tremendous project. I've heard, you can answer, but are you, as far as PIE&G, any future plans to move on to different areas once you have this completed, if it's all working out, or is that pretty much going to be limited to your areas?
The board was, one of the things we did, the board did was indicate that we're gonna make this like a member activity. So if you're an electric member right now, you benefit because we've got the grid going. But in the future, areas where we don't have service, energy territory, they're gonna make those members too. So for instance, any community like Harrisville that doesn't have us for a provider, should that opportunity come along, we would buy a membership in the co-op and become a member. And the capital generated from the fiber activity would be allocated back to the fiber users, just like our electric and gas. Capital credits are allocated back to those members. So, yeah, we did it in a way to not exclude anybody anywhere in Northeast Michigan, because one of my biggest issues was there's nowhere that this can't help.
Right.
Yeah.
It's our last best shot at infrastructure that'll get the big city business in our area. Can't build a highway.
No.
Yep, and we have to start somewhere.
Oh, I
This is
agree.
where we're starting and
Yeah.
getting this going, and then we'll look at options.
No, it's exciting. I'm glad that, I'm glad you're doing this.
And really in Alcona County, there's a tremendous area that has natural gas, but has PIEG natural gas, but does not have electric.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty big area. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's-
1,300
yeah,
gas meters.
yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty big. Have you come up with any kind of cost for the consumer yet, or any
As
ideas?
far as the monthly fees, we're still, that's what Stan alluded to, that's our next step, is to work through some of that. Obviously, it has to be competitive with
Right.
the charters of the world. We think it will be, and we think the service will be exceptional compared to what you get from a large provider.
All right, great. Any more questions?
One of the reasons why we wanted them to come in here, they saw this, Dan, and they saw it on, you did an MPOT presentation.
Yeah.
Two of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I just thought it would be really good for this group, because they're sort of the tip of the spear here, to be able to see what it actually is going to work, how it actually is going to work, and how you're putting it together. What it takes, part of it's managing the expectation, the speed at which it comes.
Right,
Right?
right.
That's something we're all going to have to deal with. It is not as easy as picking up the phone and calling Frontier and saying, give me something that you can't give me, but you're going to give it to me anyway. So part of that is just that. Bringing in here to let them see it first.
Yeah, and then we'll have a YouTube of this meeting link that I can share with all the township officials and anybody who wants to watch. And we'll be able to get this information out there, help with that effort. So,
You okay with us sharing this?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yes.
Thanks, you guys, for
Yeah, thank you.
Slides to us.
oh, and if you get a chance, will you forward the slideshow to
Yes.
us? Yeah.
Someone wrote to me.
I did.
Oh.
Yesterday.
Okay.
It's a little late, but I thought I'd take a stab at it.
Yeah, you got me. I thought, I didn't even customize it for, I just wasn't ready.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You guys.
I don't think so. So the next for presentation is the MIRMA renewal proposal.
Well, I was hoping to go before these guys because it's not as exciting. I mean, it's just insurance. I mean, this is the broadband stuff is a lot more exciting, but I'm going to give you one of these. Yep. And I think Stephanie has provided you in your packet the actual proposal.
Yep.
And so rather than go line by line through it, which I just put you to sleep, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want me here, this fine. You want me to pull around the front?
Yeah, you could come right up here and sit with us if you like.
Let me grab my water now. Okay, great. All right, so I think my team member, Tim McClory, is the one who actually came up and sold you guys on MMRMA. So I'm not going to go back through a lot of the salesy marketing type of stuff that he already, I'm sure, did. But I want to introduce myself a little bit because you haven't had a chance to meet me yet. So my name is Bob Hauk, and I am a regional risk manager for MMRMA, same as Tim. It's a really fancy handle for basically an agent. And all of my members that I service are north of Big Rapids, so I spend a lot of time up in this area. My wife is also from Posen. So previous to even working for MMRMA, I basically grew up in Posen. Been coming up there for almost 30 years now. So I know this area really well and happy to have you as one of my members that I'm going to be working with. So I want to touch on MMRMA just a little bit. So just in case you don't remember, but we are not commercial insurance. So we are a nonprofit governmental entity, an insurance pool created by our members in order to serve our members. So it's you own us, right? So we're governed by a board elected from the body of membership. They make determinations on our coverages, on our services, and so we're different in a lot of ways from commercial insurance. So as we go through, I'm going to point out some things which I'm sure Tim had previously, but they're more the kind of sizzle to the steak. All right. So MMRMA was formed 40 years ago. A lot of the coverages that we have are very similar to the commercial market. However, they're tailored specifically for our municipal members. That's all that we do. So for myself, I have 45 members that I work with. I don't do any commercial. I don't do any personal lines. I only work with municipal members. I've got 23 of the 87 counties that I work with. Just around the corner, Gladwin, Iosco, Aranac are all my counties. And we'll talk a little bit about them as we're kind of going through this. So very familiar with county government, very familiar with the exposures that you folks face. And so I have 15 years of experience that I can bring to bear for you. Now, I want you to think of me as a part of the county team. So we try really hard to be an extension of your municipal government as your risk manager. So anytime you need anything, we're only a phone call away. We provide coverage, yes, but we also have services so that if you want somebody to come up and do risk control, we've got 5 in-house experts that work with law enforcement, that work with human resources, that work with Parks and Rec. So all of those things are provided within the service. There's no extra cost for any of those, right? So just that's a high level umbrella. Here's who we are. This is what we do reminder, right? So within that, I also gave you this very first page, kind of touches on some of that information. But I wanted to get into the proposal. So where we are in the process right now, usually in February, I will call and I'll say, hey, I want to have a quick meeting, and that will be with Stephanie or whoever your member representative is. And the member representative is the person that I would work with on a regular basis regarding insurance issues. They're the ones that you've authorized to sign papers or to work with MMRMA's claims department on claims. So Stephanie and I would sit down, we'd go through all of your exposures. I try to get to know my members as best that I can. So I want to know about your properties, your vehicles, your loss history, the different activities that you do as a community. And then based on that, we get the ball rolling for renewal. So then about a month later in March, out comes the renewal questionnaire. Stephanie fills it out, comes to us, goes through underwriting, and now we're at the proposal phase. So typically, we would be done with this a month and a half ago. Things were slowed down just because of COVID, and then we've had some stuff go on with reinsurers that we've had to renegotiate things on the front of cyber liability because there's a lot happening there. Dams, which I'm sure you're familiar, your neighbors have had some problems with their dams, and a couple other issues. So that's why it's later this year, but you can expect it. Your renewal date is July 1st. You can expect to get it from me. Usually, if you want me to come up, I can do a presentation probably somewhere mid-May or beginning of June so that we're not so far behind. So I just want you to think that we're always this kind of behind the 8 ball. Any general questions that you want me to answer before I kind of launch into the proposal itself? Anything you're specifically looking for from me today? All right, hearing nothing, I'm going to go ahead and move on then. So the proposal, I'm really going to go to this summary sheet, and I put this together for you. It's at the very back of the couple handouts that I gave to you. I put this together because typically the boards that I present to, they want just the high level executive summary. And so really, what's the price and how much money have you given us back this year? So this is where I always start. And then if you want to dig in, I'm happy to do that. When I ask about specific coverages, more than happy to explain them. All right, so for you this year, we're looking at your property and casualty cost of coverage is about $90,000 and some change. We're asking you to put a $14,000 contribution into the pool, and I'll explain that in a second. And then that leads to a total contribution, and don't let the terminology confuse you, it's premium. So the contribution for that is $104,000. Now, as compared to last year, it's about a $5,000 or $6,000 increase. We're going to talk about why that is. All right. But down below there, I want to point out there's 3 programs that MMRMA has which make us unique, and this is part of the benefit of you being part of MMRMA. The first is the Net Asset Distribution Program. The second is the State Pool Loss Fund, and the third is the RAP Grant Program. So if you look kind of down towards the bottom of the page, it says Member Account Summary, and you'll see a period total and a program total, which for you match. All right. So let me explain first the net asset distribution portion of this. So because we're member owned and we're a pool, you can think of this kind of like profit sharing for the nonprofit world. So MMRMA, at the end of each fiscal year, we take a look at what surplus we have. So we've got $500 million invested. And so at 5%, that's $25 million a year that we receive on that money. We actually get between 5 and 8%. I wish they were in charge of investing my 401k, because they year after year have a great return. All right. So we're usually starting around that $25 million mark and up, as to that's investment income. That makes up about 90 to 93% of our surplus every year. So the remaining surplus comes from premiums minus paid out claims. So 6 or 7% of what we've got. If we're doing our job, we're collecting more in premium than we do pay out in claims. So there's a little bit of cushion. So once we know what that kind of overall pie looks like, and this year it was like $30 million or something, goes before a finance committee, people made up, or a committee made up of people like yourself. They look at the surplus. They then decide how much of that surplus they want to reinvest in the market and how much they then want to give back to the membership. So this past year, they decided it was going to be, I think, $23 or $24 million that they're going to give back to the membership. So now we have a number. Once we've got the number, they shove it in a black box, which looks at 3 things to determine how much your share will be. All right. First is your longevity. That's consecutive years in the program with MMRMA. The first year you're a member, you don't earn anything. The second year, you actually get some money back, which was why you're seeing something now. All right. And then every year it grows based on that. The second factor is your loss history, right? If you've got a clean loss history, which, to tell you the truth, our underwriters did not believe that you have not had a major lawsuit here. And that has been, I've been here several times selling to, I think it was Patty was here a while back. And so I had talked to her a couple times, and underwriters never would believe me. I'd bring back the loss history and they said, this can't be right? So your losses are good. And then the third factor is going to be your premium size, right? So I want to give you some examples for some members that have been with us for over 15 years. And they're your neighbors. So Iosco County is going to get back $93,000 this year. Aranet County is going to get back $44,000 this year. Gladwin County is going to get back $51,000 this year. Iosco County, since we started this program in 2006, has gotten $1.4 million back from MMRMA. Aranet has gotten back $656,000 from MMRMA, and Gladwin has gotten back $771,000 from MMRMA. You can see how this program pays out.
Yes, Can I ask the question?
Absolutely.
What was Iosco's total insurance cost?
I don't have that with me, and I wouldn't be able to share that part with you. You'd have to ask them. Just like I wouldn't share your insurance costs with anybody else.
You really want me to do a FOIA, do you?
I don't. No, I bet you they'd tell you.
Because there's a direct correlation.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to be.
So, quite frankly, that number doesn't do me a lot of good.
Sure.
I mean, ours could look really great if.
Right. What I'll tell you is they're not far off from yours. Okay, because you're all kind of in the same area. You all have similar in size, right? It's going to be a lot closer in terms of their premium than if I were comparing you to, say, Grand Traverse County.
Okay, can you answer this question?
Sure.
Is the largest factor the length of time they've been a member?
That is a large factor, because if you were to leave, you would go back to zero.
So, and if you can't answer this, I
Sure.
respect that. Identifying only 2 factors, length of time they've been a member and their total cost, which is the greater factor for what the return is?
Oh, length of membership.
Length of membership.
Yes.
Okay.
So total cost makes it relative. So we're not giving, let's see if I can use an example. So in 2015, I think was our largest give back. It was like a $50 million give back. I had at that time 70 members. I believe 20 of those 70, and they were some larger, some smaller, some bigger than Alcona County, received over 100% of their premium back, somewhere around between 100 and 120% of their premium back. Right, that's probably the maximum that you would ever get. But they were basically paid to be a part of the program. Now that's happened that 1 year. I'm not going to say that that's a typical thing, but
We get to 50% and we'd be smiling.
oh, absolutely, right? Or even if 25%, right?
Yeah.
It's still better, right? Right, it'd be great. So the only reason I'm telling you all of this is because it takes a little while to start earning in that category. It doesn't take 15 years. I'm using members that have been here for 15 years. I would say by the time you're getting to that 6-7 year mark, you're probably close to that 100% eligibility mark. Okay, so you're every year it increases a little bit more. This year though, what you're getting back is going to be where's my sheet? I'm lost now. So this year you're going to get back from the net asset distribution program $1,437. Okay. Now the state pool loss fund, and let me go back in this same sheet of paper that we're looking at. I want to jump up to the middle of the page there where it has the cost of insurance. And I said I'd come back to this where it says the state pool loss fund retention allocation. Because you're part of a pool, right? So let's say that you have a $1 million lawsuit. Somebody's walking into the building, you forget to salt it, they slip on the ice, they bang their head, they sue you for $1 million. Your cost at the time of that loss is zero. We don't come to you and ask for your deductible because your deductible is zero, right? But we do go to the pool and we take a deductible from the pool. So it'd be $50,000, right? So you, as part of the pool, everybody's contributing a little bit in. Your contribution is the $14,000 every year you're going to put into that pool. So that if you had a big loss, we're going to go to the pool and take it rather than coming to you. Does that make sense? So that's why they're calling it a pool. You pool together to self-insure a portion of your risk, and that's where we go for it. So this is how you refund your portion of it every year. All right. So that next give back, so underneath the net asset distribution, that state pool loss fund, that pool also has a surplus because we invest those monies. So there's investment income coming from there, and there's also the premiums minus the claims. So once we know what the surplus is there, we go through the exact same process. It goes to a committee, goes to the board, we figure out a number, it goes in the black box, it tells us what we're going to give back to you. So every year you're going to get back 2 checks, and that's for you this year is $437. Now I say every year, it's not a guarantee. There's been 1 year, 2008, which we all remember everything tanked, right? It was not prudent for us to give money back. So they did not. So it's a discussion every year with the board, are we giving money back? And so once they decide to do that, then they go through the process. Now, the third thing that I wanted to tell you about is, and I'm sure Tim talked about this too, but is your RAP grant program. And that's this sheet that I had given to you, which is a list of all of our standard grants. We have 2 types of grants, standard grants and non-standard grants. The majority of these are going to be law enforcement related. And that's because 70% of all the losses that we have are law enforcement related. So we try and provide grants for our friends in law enforcement to be able to try and mitigate some of their exposure. All right, so this, I'm not going to go through all these, but you can take a look through here. So again, I'm going to use some examples. I don't have names, but I have counties that have over $100,000 that they've gotten through these programs since 1997 when it started. So there's $1.5 million set aside each year by MMRMA for these grants. The bucket gets refilled on July 1st. And so for you guys, it's got a full bucket right now. What I would say to you is if you can, get your hands on some of that money, I'd rather you got it than somebody else, right? So you got a $929 grant, which was for, let's see if I got that somewhere.
It basically is anything,
Was it bumper guards? Okay.
Okay.
it basically is anything that becomes a reduction of liability.
Yes, if you can find a way to reduce your liability, then it's fair game. So just because it's on this list, these are things we routinely approve. So the way it works is it's a super simple process. If you've ever had to apply for a grant before, you have reams of information and it's a long process. This isn't like that. So there's a committee made up of people just like yourself that they review all of the applications. So you say what you want it for, make your best case for why it's going to reduce your liability, goes before that board or that committee. They then either approve it or deny it on the spot, and you'll either get a check or a denial letter. And it's a 2-page form with some attached information that you're going to send in to justify why you think you should have it. And we do it every quarter, in the middle of each quarter. So as long as you get it to MMRMA within a month of their meeting, they can put it in the packet, gets on the agenda, and they'll either approve it or deny it. So these things are these are just routinely approved. So you got about 100% shot of getting these unless you meet the limits. So for instance, if we pay for $50,000 worth of cameras for your facilities, you probably are going to have to wait another 5 or 10 years before you can apply for another $50,000 for more cameras. Now, can you add 1 or 2 to your system? Probably. All right. So without going into, keeping you here forever, just be aware that this program is there. Anytime you're interested to get information, we have stuff online, or I'm happy to, talk to Stephanie about it. Okay, so going back to, got too many papers that I have to shuffle through. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the pricing for a second, because I said that there was an increase this year. So one of the things that MMRMA does also that's a little bit different is we use a professional company to come out and do our property assessments. And we just started doing this in the last 7-8 years. So when I first started with MMRMA, we would ask our members to tell us what their properties were worth. And they would say, well, it's built in 1950. And so if I just take 2% and add it to that, and we'd come up to here. So it wasn't a very technical way of figuring out what the value of a piece of property was. It didn't take into account whether or not it had fire suppression. It didn't take into account what type of the construction it was, any of that stuff, what was going on in the market in general in the area. So when we engaged this company called CBiz, they actually, from the East Coast, they come out, and every 4th or 5th year, they're going to come out, look at your properties, and they're going to give us a value, a professional assessment based on what's current market values are. So they're going to look at your area. They've got it down to where they subdivide Michigan. They can say, in your area, this is what the building materials cost looks like. This is what the labor cost looks like. And it allows them to give us a fairly accurate idea of what the cost of building will be. So the report that you get back is really very detailed. And I didn't create one of these for each one of you, but you guys can pass this around if you want to, but it's very detailed. So it gives you a picture, it gives you the value, tells you all about the building itself, the square footage, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that you can tell that they at least tried to do some of the work. And the first time they go through that can be painful, because if you've never had a professional assessment done and they're coming in to do it, then the values can be different than what you have had. And that's the case here. There's about a $3 million difference, I believe, from what you were reporting to what they're saying your properties are worth. Okay. And so because of that, about $4,500, I think, of the increase that you received this year has to do with the property increase that were scheduled from what you originally reported to us. Right. So it wasn't unusual. When we first did this, MMRMAs had basically the same member base for a lot of years, right? We don't have a lot of turnover. And so when those members went through that, most of them kind of saw an increase based on the professional assessments because they never had it done. So you're not unusual in that respect. The other increases that you've had were marginal, and those I saw across all my members. And they had more to do with probably the auto. Let me verify that. That's why we're sitting here together. So you had a little bit of an increase, like $500 in auto liability, about a $800 increase in auto physical damage. And you stayed flat. Law enforcement actually went down $2,000, which is great because normally that goes up. So you guys, Sheriff, you're doing a good job. So that's really where those increases came from. You also had some, so MMRMA looks at what your treasurer submits to the state, something called the F-65. And it shows your revenues and expenses. And MMRMA takes that document, they look at your expenses, and they try to determine, using that, how to price you. What are your exposures? Based on those exposures, that's how we come up with the pricing. So if there's changes in your expenses, then you're going to see changes in pricing. So if you've got a year where your expenses are down, you're going to see us probably reduce pricing on that a little bit. If they go up, you're going to see it increase. So from last year to this year, there's about a $600,000 or $700,000 difference. You were at 8.6, now you're at 9.3 in your expenses. So that related to about a $1,000 increase, a little bit less than a $1,000 increase. So as you look through this, I want you to be able to understand why things change. I don't want to just come out and put a number in front of you and say, there you go. Insurance just always goes up. Boom, you're done. Hopefully I can come back next time and say, oh, guess what? It went down. That doesn't happen very often. So I don't want to set expectations either. Right?
No, that ain't
Right. So, but I wanted to at least explain that to you. So if you had any questions, I can try and answer them for you. Okay.
How many years have we been members over here?
This is going to be your third year.
Third year.
Yes.
Coming up.
Which we're glad we have you. And I think long time ago you were.
Yeah, we had you a long time ago.
We used
Okay.
to have
Yeah.
that. Used to be members.
Yep.
We already got
Back
some
when you were
credit
here.
for
when
that.
you were here.
No,
You
go
really
back-
should. And I would argue for that.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, we'll see how successful you are. Then.
Well, yeah, not very. You know what?
Because you just said if you leave, you go back to zero again.
My wife, my kids, and my dog don't listen to me. So why would you think that anybody at work would listen to me?
I would listen.
So I think
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that when we have a law enforcement vehicle issue, it's $250. When we have an EMS vehicle incident, it's $1,000.
Okay,
I
let me
think those
explain.
are the correct figures.
Yep, let me explain why that is. So the coverage is completely different. So for your patrol cars, that is an ACV or actual cash value. So if it had an accident, we look at what's the value of that thing today with depreciation and everything else. When you're talking about an EMS vehicle, it's replacement cost. So we're going to replace that thing based on its one with like, kind, and quality. So we're going to go out in the market. If it's a $100,000 rig, we're going to go out and find another $100,000 rig to replace it with. Whereas if it's the sheriff's vehicle, we're just going to you're going to give me $250 in as the deductible. And then we're going to figure out if it was worth 50 when they bought it, it's only worth 12 now. You're only going to get it, 12. So that's why there's a big difference in the deductible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Partly.
Okay.
But when we started in July 1st, you already charged me more for an ambulance than you did for a law enforcement.
Well, let me see.
So premiums are higher and deductibles higher.
Probably because it's full replacement cost.
Let me see. Well, premiums are generally based on who crashes the most. And those are the two highest.
Phrase that a little differently.
I'm sorry.
We got them both sitting here.
Sorry, I apologize.
We may
So,
do a fisticuffs between them.
well, Okay, so, and in all fairness, the reason is because you guys put more miles on the road. And when you put more miles on the road, there's gonna be more accidents, and especially when you're in a colder area where there's snow and ice and deer.
Doesn't?
So,
Who puts more mileage on your vehicle?
let me see.
He's got more vehicles, so he's got more.
You got to be putting a lot more mileage, I would think.
We got better drivers, Carol.
Oh, I'm not going there.
Let me just do one thing.
But the deer like us, because we're a bigger target.
Yeah.
And
You go
actually-
fast. Well, no, you
And
don't
actually,
necessarily
the
go fast.
last 4 accidents we've had have all been car deer. We've not hit another vehicle, we've not hit a tree,
Yeah,
we've not hit a building. They're all car deer accidents.
and that's so typical,
Right.
right? And that's just, it's a factor of where you live. And the size of the deer population up here and the number of miles that you put on, pardon me?
He's got the same deer the sheriff does.
Yeah. That's
Smaller vehicles and get around.
More vehicles are cheaper to fix.
right. And if you guys could, tell you what, if I could figure out a way to prevent those, I would not be doing this.
You wouldn't be doing this.
No, I
you
would not.
be.
All right, so let me
You would
just
not
look at something real quick for
We
you.
would still be utilizing your services, just in a different manner.
Right?
You know, you throw bumper guards on and you train staff, and I don't know what EMS or fire does for training, but we send our people precision driving and how to avoid obstacles. And sometimes that-
Well, and you don't have somebody in the back that's possibly a life support or something either.
Right, yeah.
When we got them in the back, they're all life support.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
One way or the other.
And that's why we put the
Better
deer
keep
guards
them
or the
alive.
area guards on ours, to keep them on the windshield.
Right.
Still does the damage, but it prevents them from coming up into the windshield.
Right.
So, you know, our typical bill is $6,000 to $8,000 minus the deductible.
Right.
It's all front end. It's fenders, grill, bumper, alley-art.
Right.
But sometimes a door panel, sometimes a door.
Right. And what we look at though also is what would it cost to replace it if you totaled it?
Right.
Which again, that's really where when you're looking at the difference in deductible and the premium, some ambulances, what would you say a new rig would cost?
200,000.
Okay, 200,000 fully outfitted, right? So, $1,900 or $2,000 annual to insure a $200,000 rig versus insuring a $45,000 sheriff's vehicle, right? So that's really why we're seeing such a big difference in the premium.
But the other advantage is we can remount that box on the new chassis too,
Sure,
if it's not damaged or if it's not totaled.
right,
The chassis could be totaled, but we're doing that right. We didn't total it, but the chassis just wore out. We're putting out a new one under it.
sure.
And predominantly 95% of the time, it's all chassis damage on the outside.
Sure. Any other questions or anything I can answer for you? If not, don't feel like you can't ask later, right? So you've got my card. It's got my email address on there. And so feel free to contact me. I will always include Stephanie in any correspondence because she's the member rep so that she knows who I'm talking to and what I'm talking to them about. So don't be offended if you do send me an email and I have her included on there.
And you said that C-Base company, they come out about once every 5 years?
Once every 4 or 5 years. It just depends on their schedule and how often. So it's been about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Without reading through it, I do have a question in regards to tax sale properties. Where would they be coming under here?
Your tax sale properties? Okay, so are you part of the large class action?
I'm talking about the ones that, the liability that we would have while we're holding them.
Oh, while you're
prior to
holding them?
auction.
Okay,
We had a separate rider and a different policy.
so here's the way we handle that. Okay, if typically when you take a foreclosure property, and you tell me if this is wrong, it doesn't have anything on the property, or if it does, you wish it didn't, because it's not worth anything. Would that be correct?
The majority, yes.
Majority, okay. So in those cases, you don't need to do anything. The liability is the only thing you're worried about. So liability extends like a bubble. So any place that the county goes, the bubble of liability protection goes with. So anytime you're working on behalf of the county and you go somewhere, there's a bubble of liability protection that goes with you. Same way with any type of a property that you own. It doesn't have a building on it that has any value that you would want to rebuild if something happened to it. The liability is still in place. If the thing were to burn down or get taken away by a tornado, you don't want to replace it anyway, so you don't necessarily care. The only exception to that, if it's a large building, say $1 million plus, I'll just use that as an example, you may want to have some coverage on it because we do have debris removal coverage. So if a tornado did take it out, there'd be some coverage there to remove the debris. So what I would say to you is that everything else, except for that category that I just kind of defined as broad, that 80, 90%, that other 10 or 15%, that's a phone call to me. And then we talk about the property and decide whether or not it needs to be listed and scheduled with us, or whether you're going to turn it over within a reasonable period of time. There is an automatic 180-day coverage, 6 months worth of coverage for anything that you acquire or any new property that you acquire, automatic without it being reported. And then there's also a $5 million limit for unreported property, which is an oops, I forgot to tell you about it. So one of the great things about MMRMA is that we look for ways to provide coverage to our members. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that from the commercial market. It looks like they're looking for ways to not provide coverage. Because you own us and you are direct us.
Well, technically, that's what a co-op's about, is to protect the members.
Right. We're here to protect your interests. So we want to find ways to do that. So that's what I would say is if you have questions, please just call and then we can talk about it and figure out what we need to do.
Road Commission had something similar when they had their fire.
On what is, it's the page that's quote number.
The money pages?
Yeah.
I know, they should have page numbers at the bottom, shouldn't they? I hate that they don't.
I'm not seeing, actually, this is the only one that doesn't have a number on the bottom.
Nah, some of the ones after that. Yeah.
Just looking for understanding.
Sure.
You're talking about the MCA assessment on total vehicles.
Yes.
At 3,300.
Yep.
Which is a new contribution, but there's also then the negative discount, it would appear, of the 3,300.
Yep, that is a great question. So if you all want to look at that, so it is, if you look at the proposal, it looks like this. It's got all the pricing on it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a great question. And if you go home and you pull out your auto insurance bill, there's a line item that says the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association, right? Mm-hmm. And it's about a $200 and some charge that everybody in the state of Michigan that owns a vehicle has to pay. It's basically a tax. All right. So the state charges that to everybody. And it's like a $70 billion or whatever fund that they have. MMRMA collects that for you. And at this, we have to pay it to the state. So this is another benefit of membership. MMRMA's board decided that we were going to pay that for you.
And waive the cost.
And waive the cost to you.
Okay.
Right. So what we're showing is what it would have cost you, and then we show that we pay it. That's why the positive and the negative.
My other question that I have, and I don't see, we need for accounting things and for charging out to various entities, we need to know the cost of specific groupings of buildings and the liability attached to them. For instance, when we look at item 4, this would be page 1 of 3 of the properties.
Yep.
How do we? Okay, I guess we could add up the absolute total, divide it by, do a math problem on it, but we need to know what is the coverage of that $833,000. how much dollar wise does that relate to the 104,000 that we're paying?
Okay.
Or even the 90,000?
Right. So the answer, because I get this question from others, you're not the only one. MMRMA currently does not break it down to that level. So I can't tell you how it takes the whole premium and to show you how to distribute it across a particular building.
If I take the total premium and, I'm sorry, the total value that's being insured,
Yep.
the total premium, find out the percentage,
Yep.
then can I then mathematically transpose that over into individual entities, and will it compute?
Yeah, that's really the only way that you can do it. Okay, so if it's actually property is the easiest one you can have. If you're looking at departments, that's a little harder. Okay?
Well, for instance, our Parks and Rec, and one of the other ones that I see,
Library.
and that's the Cedar Lake Dam that needs to be paid out of a different fund.
Right.
As does our Parks and Rec and some of our ambulance and our libraries.
Right.
All those have to be divided out.
So some of the, like the dam, that we can get for you. Okay, so that is something, if you ask us to get Katie, who's in our office, she can talk to underwriting and they can provide a value for what they charge for the dam. For the buildings, you're right. If you take the total premium that we're charging and take the value of the building as a percentage of that, that'll tell you what we're charging for the property cost.
May we take all the ones that we need to know, send it to Katie and have her do the ones that she can?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's not possibly your question, but Parks and Recs, they get grants.
Sure.
And they also, because of their department, they pay their insurance, their portion of an insurance for the liabilities. But if they knew what part was snowmobiles versus, I mean, we're breaking it down really low,
Sure.
for snowmobiles versus the ORVs, when they ask for grants, they can get that money reimbursed to them at the grant level.
Right.
But we give it to them at a total dollar amount, and they don't know how much
Sure.
of it to go where, so they can't put it back in there legally to.
Right.
They can estimate, but it
But
doesn't.
we'll do that list and send it to Katie, and we'll differentiate on our request. She may not be able to do it.
I was gonna say I'm
But-
holding my breath.
But
on
we
that
can
one.
tell you some methods how you can do it. And that's what I've done with other members. And the reason that we don't do it, break it down, is because everybody does it differently.
Right.
Some are going to want to do it by budget. Some are going to want to do it by number of employees. Some do it. So it wouldn't make sense for us to try and, we can't do it for everybody their own way.
Right.
So what we do is we try and give you, which is why this page that has kind of the general breakout, it gives you an opportunity to have at least some numbers that you could then take and pick out what you want. So for instance, Parks and Rec, you have a number of vehicles. You would want to take those vehicles, which would be likely service trucks.
Right.
So we provide it,
Tractors and stuff, yeah.
right. We provide a sheet here that shows service trucks, and you can, well, actually you don't have any. But if you did,
Yeah.
it would say, here's the cost for each service truck. And if you had 3, you could take that out, right? And figure that portion of it. Then if you wanted to know what the liability portion of it is for Parks and Rec, you could look at the overall cost, take out law enforcement, because that doesn't apply to you. But the public officials liability, the general liability, and the auto liability and auto physical damage, those would apply. Add those up, figure out what your percentage of the budget is, and take that percentage of the premium. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to back into
That's
the
hard
numbers.
to do though, if you look at, that's fine for the physical properties, but it's difficult on the liability side.
They didn't say it was going to be easy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who are we to say that if someone falls or injures themselves while they're grooming a trail,
Right.
that you're going to pay more towards their healing than somebody who just fell upstairs on a piece of concrete
Right.
that becomes part of the building's liability.
Sure.
We don't have any way of knowing how you're going to do that.
Right. Well, and it has, it makes it hard for us to break it apart too, because of the way MMRMA does this. We don't look at your departments to
It's
determine.
gotta be easier for you because you're putting the numbers in than us who have no knowledge of how you arrived at those numbers.
True. And again, we can give you some, and I'm not being argumentative.
I know you're not. I
Not trying to-
respect, I'm just making an observation.
I know. And I will do absolutely everything I can to break it down as far as we can.
I'm
Work with
going to be
Katie on it.
giving Tim the same headache.
That's right.
We tried.
So I will do
I
what
have
I
given Tim
can.
the same
Right,
headache.
right. We
Okay,
could,
we'll play with it, but we'll get a
Okay.
list out and obviously we will CC you on it, Steph. But
Katie's information is right on the original cover of the page right there as well.
Yeah. if we may do that, Mr. Chairman, sir.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
our goal is to be as transparent as we can be, obviously, because you guys own us. So we're never not giving you information because we don't want to. It's just that we're operating on a system that is older, and we're in the process of implementing a new one. And once the new one is implemented, it may be a lot easier for us to produce reports to be able to generate information.
Screw with
to
us
give
in
it
the
to you.
middle.
I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, just about the time Stephanie gets used to using the system that we have, I'm going to give her a new one and say, okay,
Exactly.
new train.
No, I don't think so.
So I've taken up way more time than I had intended. So
Taking up just the right amount.
okay, good. If there's anything else I can do for you, I mean, I'm happy to stay longer if you want me to, but typically they've kicked me out by now.
I don't have any
Answered all
other
my
questions.
Okay, good. Again, I just would reiterate, if you ever need me to come up and do this again, or if you want me to do this on a regular basis, happy to do it. If you have
You'll call in
questions,
sick.
feel, get a, no, I'll make you take me to lunch or something. That's
You're
what it'd be. All right. But happy to always come up and, pardon me?
I think your buddy Tom owes me a lunch.
Right? Okay, well,
Last time I drive, I asked him to get it. So.
okay. All right, well, thank you for your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Robert. It's a motion.
Steph, do you need anything more from me?
I just had a quick question. So if they make a motion, obviously, to renew in the next
Okay,
year,
we'll put that
I
together.
just do the DocuSigns that you can send it to me, go back in there. It'll send it, review the documents, and then,
It'll take you right to where you need to sign. You
Okay.
just click, and then you can print or download it. And it also will send you a version of the signed copy so that you'll have that as well. So, and then Katie will send you a coverage overview. And if you ever need help, you can either call myself or Katie, and we'll walk you right through.
All right.
Okay.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
That was all fun.
all right.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the renewal for the property and liability coverage for Alcona County from July 1, 2021 to July 1, 2022 as presented.
Support.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Better have a roll call, I guess.
Brady,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes.
Gothier.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on. Unfinished business. Region 9 Area Agency on Aging Proposal Fiscal Year 2022 Annual Implementation Plan. Is that in the packet? I didn't see it.
No, I don't know what we're talking. I didn't see it. They sent out that survey that needed to be done.
I saw the survey, though. Is this something that we tabled? Stephanie, help me out. What is this?
Yes, you did, because you weren't able to review, you hadn't had time to review it.
Came to us last meeting.
Well, I didn't review it, obviously, because I can't remember what this is even. Any other commissioners have a look at this?
No. Was it in last meeting's packet?
Yeah.
Was, yes.
Oh,
one
I
before.
remember.
The one before.
I remember.
It's been a while.
What was it in regards to?
They were asking for. Didn't you have that?
Do you have that email right there from that county? Corey,
I don't have my phone.
states the Michigan Aging and Adult Services Agency requires a review of this plan by each county board of commissioners within the Region 9. Planning and
Yeah.
Services area.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Like a motion to, of approval on that or not yet at this time?
It's getting a lot of dumpster.
Okay, I remember. Okay, yes. They just need us to approve it.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I'll accept the motion to approve.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Carolyn, second by Mr. Small. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, that's right. I know what this is now. Okay, sorry. Should look at this closer last night. Okay, moving on. We'll go to claims.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the pre-authorized claims and open claims presented for payment between June 16th, 2021 and July 6th, 2021 for check numbers 144568 to 144766 and e-check numbers 1603 to 1619 for a grand total of $515,012.60. Seconded.
Okay, motion by Dan, second by Terry. Any further comment? Discussion?
Expensive.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I just,
3 weeks in between meetings.
Yeah.
oh, okay. The assumption, I just quickly looked at the 23,000 for district house is our portion to.
Yep. I guess I went through all these and I think, if I'm right, the Harris Construction, there's a couple of them. Is that for the sewer line work?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's the sewer line work. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, roll call.
Brumman,
Yes.
Bucker,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes,
Small,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
motion carries. Next up, the courthouse screening policy. I heard that the sheriff was gonna do information.
He left the hot seat up. All right, so I'm the chair of the Courthouse Security Committee. And you guys asked us to come up with some recommendations on how to run the kiosk out front. A few disclaimers for me first. This recommendation comes from the committee, not necessarily me personally. The recommendations and using the kiosk arises out of the concerns of the employees about safe working conditions for the building. My feelings are that the kiosks are just kind of a Band-Aid and a feel-good program to make this thing work. It's inadequate for providing security. I've said this to a couple of commissioners before. It's just something to make us feel a little bit better about ourselves. It does keep the door locked. It's a step in the right directions, but the only real security for the courthouse is going to be boots on the ground over there, which is a sheriff's deputy in the building. There's nothing short of that that's going to help out much. Metal detectors. Murmur was just here. They provide grants to provide 50% of those. I think I asked
Yeah,
the
it's right
county
here
had
in
them.
the sheet.
Yeah. And if you noticed, a lot of the programs that I brought up last week for the grant is funded by Murmur because those are all liability reduction things, as is security in the building. You know, they want to see a secure building and safe working environment. With that said, I know that it's cost prohibitive, but I just feel it's my responsibility as a sheriff to let you know. I'm kind of in charge of building security here because I'm on this committee. As a sheriff, I also have to provide courtroom security and security for the judge. And I'm just telling you, I just think this is kind of a weak solution. With that said, I'm not here to say, let's overlook a decent solution or a step in the right direction, trying to get to the perfect one. Let's take that first step. And with that, I'm giving you the committee's recommendation, which you have in front of you. But to summarize, they want to keep the public entrances locked. Visitors use the kiosks to answer a few screening questions. And after they answer those, it prints out a little badge that they wear with their picture on it. I think it's good for 24 hours.
24.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're worried about there being problems getting in or not working. There's some bugs to work out of the kiosk system from the IT department, but they assured me that there can be help prompts on there. There can also be a list of phone numbers for whatever office you want to go to. So those hiccups, again, I hate to skip over a decent remedy in lieu of looking for the perfect one. And some of these bumps in the road or the IT bumps that we have to work out with the kiosk, I think are minor bumps in the road, but I think they can be overcome. So that's kind of the recommendation. It's not just coming from, I mean, this is a courthouse security committee because it's required by the court system to have this, but a lot of the county building employees are involved in this too. And just as recently as yesterday, we got called about somebody claiming to have a gun in their car, and they kept going in and out of the courthouse. Their brother was being convicted of CSE first degree. So we had to pat them down and search them. It all worked out okay. We don't know if they had a gun in the car or not. It doesn't really matter, but they were talking about it. Like I say, this is something that's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's adequate, but I think it's a step in the right direction. And it's better than nothing, which is what we've been doing in the past. So if there are technical questions about how it works, I'll refer to John. If there are questions maybe that the judge could answer about some of the legality of it, maybe Jen can answer those.
Is this a kiosk down here and upstairs?
Yeah. The recommendations are for both of them. Oh, this one, I think you guys have already approved the purchase and the building of this one down here. Right. I think the same procedures would hold true on both of them.
Is your committee working on more measures down the road? In other words,
we're always looking to improve on things, Terry. Yeah. But this is kind of the thing at the forefront right now.
Right.
We've always got things like tinting windows and we had the guy come in from Scale, or is it SCOA?
Scale. And
he did the evaluation here and came up with a bunch of recommendations. We fell short on quite a few of them. We did okay on some of them. The overall feeling I think that he came with is that we were short on security, but the big problem is that clerk's office is wide open to too much from outside the building and inside. And I mean, they even recommended as much as not allowing parking right here, in front of that. So
what are the questions that are going to be asked in the kiosk?
Well, that's up for some debate. We do have some that are recommended right now. Name which office you're building and an acknowledgement that you're not carrying a firearm in the building. That's it. That's all they've come up with. I think there was a question about whether these were COVID questions. The security committee is not interested in COVID restrictions or compliance or any of this. This is safety and security of the building.
Anyway.
Not associated.
So just name only, not address, nothing, just name.
No, just name. Yeah. There are also some discussion about what we do with that name. In a perfect world where IT is working well with our office, somehow that would get over to my office and we would have a list of who's coming and going, and potentially be able to check for wants or warrants or other certain problems like that. That's, I think, a couple steps down the road yet, though, technology wise.
Also, today I came up with another reason is if we do check in, and even the staff in some manner, if we had an active shooter in the building, I'm sure we have cameras, but there would be a possible way to tap into that list that's been checked in.
To know what employees are in the building?
To know who's in here, how many people are in the building, so when you do a raid into the building, you have some idea of what you're looking at in number count. And that machine would be able to, it would have a list of people that checked in and checked out.
You're not asking for all employees to go through.
We did not. Well, no, we didn't. The screening doesn't apply to employees. And we did
so you
speak
wouldn't
about
know
that.
how many employees are
Well, we
in the
would,
building.
because all the doors have security doors on it. So you use your ID or a swipe to get in.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
So
and that's all part of it.
that already exists.
Oh, that already exists.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
Unless you're going through an unlocked public
No,
entrance,
okay.
like I just did when I came in.
Right.
Okay.
But that could be a helpful, in the future, if anything happened, it would.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to account for who's at work
Or
that
if you
day.
had to half the building fell in or some
Right.
thing like that, you'd have a count of how many's in the.
Now, my staff would think we were looking at to see what time you got to work and what time you left. But that's.
Yeah, that's all right.
The system does have a built-in evacuation system. So God forbid if we were to check in, it would come
So what you're saying is it runs out before we are.
I got a thing on mine said, you've been here too long or something, like,
Well, that's
you're
true.
closed out, you're whatever.
But they want you to check in and out. You just checked in.
I wasn't
Could you
ready
go
to
out
leave.
without being checked out?
Yeah,
You could.
you sure could. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if this system, is there much for scenarios where this system would fail in the event of a fire where the doors would lock and we wouldn't be able to get out?
No, all the doors are set currently to the electric strikes will automatically be unlocked.
Okay.
It's and then the other ones are just the push bars. So
yeah.
And anything magnetic wise, which we have upstairs, will automatically shut off in the event of a failure.
Yeah, because that's probably a fire code
Well,
question
yeah,
more than
power
anything
outage,
else.
fire, anything like that, it automatically disables itself.
But aren't the cameras over to the share, aren't they on all the exits?
Now, most of the cameras are on. 911.
All the exit
Not all.
doors.
I don't know about all the exit doors.
It depends on what they have up on their screen at the time. Does Central Dispatch have the ability to
move,
switch views?
No.
Like I do?
Not
No.
no.
Okay.
Does the ability exist in you, I don't know how long you've been sitting here, but Sheriff mentioned as people sign in, is there a manner in which that can be forwarded?
Yes. Anybody that signs in, the program can be installed up and running. Anybody can cross the line and have to pop up and say they can look at who's
So I think it's going to be set up to send an email to whatever department they're coming to visit. Somehow we're going to work out a system so that it also relays to us who's coming in.
So if they're
We
coming
haven't worked
into
that
the
out exactly because.
Register of Deeds office and there's a warrant out against them.
Mhm.
She doesn't need to worry about it because it's somebody
Well,
on the west side of the street.
that would require the sheriff's department to.
Well, we're a sheriff's office, first of all, but second of all, the logistics of that have to be worked out a little
Well,
bit.
yeah, but
Because we have to have somebody over there that's receiving the email that's here all the time. And the only people that are here at a desk looking at a screen all the time are dispatchers, which aren't my
Right.
employees, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn with them. But they're the only ones that sit there watching a screen all day. My jailers do not, deputies do not, and I do
it's
not.
not as though we have 80 people going through every hour.
No.
I mean,
Only takes one.
that's true. One among 80 in an hour would be difficult to track. One in 15 to 20 minutes would not be difficult to track.
Right. But like I say, there's all kinds of what ifs or, what about this door and what that, we got to stop looking for the perfect solution and avoiding we got to start somewhere, and like I say, I don't think this is an adequate solution to our security issue here. But it's a step in the right direction. It's a first step.
So when, as far as IT, when can this all be operational?
It's operational upstairs already. It's ready to go.
It's not calling offices if they can get in, is it?
No one's going to call the office. You have to have a cell phone for that. They're going to have. We'll have a list of departments and phone numbers there, and
okay.
It'll say if you have an issue, please call.
Yeah, right. But okay.
Oh, there won't be a phone there to use?
You're going to use your cell phone.
Use your cell, but there'll be a list in that there.
The only question I have right now is that because we still don't have the other one hooked up, therefore, if we do a locked-in type thing where everybody comes in from one to the other, if the handicap has to come in on the bottom for some reason, it will still have to be the older method, which is call ahead and have someone at the door or be able to get contact with someone to open the door until the room gets filled and the new kiosk machine gets put in and established. That's the only drag between this thing. You got one in motion now.
Yeah,
and
one
that's not.
up and running and one a ways out.
Right, and we don't know when the delivery is at this point, do we?
Delivery of the next one should be next week sometime. And then obviously have the wall.
The wall.
together.
I mean, it's gonna take a while.
As for the phone, I did check in with our phone company, and they do make a really basic phone we might be able to put out there if necessary. If you're just, people aren't gonna use the kiosk, they're gonna immediately go towards the phone.
Right.
But it is, if you run into an issue, it's definitely a possibility.
Are you gonna have a method for deliveries? We get a lot of mail, registered deeds, IT equipment.
That's a good question, because it'd be quite a hassle for
It is.
delivery folks to have to
They're not
sign.
gonna stand around.
No, they're throwing it on the step and they're leaving. Yeah.
See that.
I'm sure we can give our standard people a staff way to get in.
I'm
On
just
that
asking
door.
for that.
I don't see it as an issue. We can program Brian from and all the other ones in there so that they can automatically get in through the staff button. I don't see that as an issue.
Certainly one of the bugs that's gonna have to be addressed though.
Banging on my.
Lots of bugs to look at.
Let's have a bang on Steph's window for all deliveries.
No, they come back.
What?
They beep, UPS beep, when you get here.
Majority of the department heads want this.
Majority or all of them, yeah.
Everybody.
Again, I hate saying too much because it's not my building or my people. We kind of have our own measures over there that, even though our front door is open, we have safety and security measures that far exceed what can happen over here, but we're different beasts over there.
Okay. Maybe I was hoping for something a little more comprehensive, but
yeah,
something to present to the public and say, here's how it works.
We've actually already had a messaging with Mary Weber as to how it works. So it should be in the paper.
It was in the paper.
Is it the same thing?
No, some more detail.
I would like to, did I send a copy of that? Probably. I just haven't looked at it.
It was last Wednesday's paper.
No, I mean the information. Did you distribute it to commissioners?
Yes,
too?
I did.
Okay, I got it. That's all I don't know. Okay. So what do we need to do with this then? Do we need to?
That's up to you guys. Thanks for looking at Murma again, though. I appreciate that, and they're very good to us.
Do you have a copy of that information, what they have with the cover? That thing he handed out to us today?
No, I got this.
I'd like to give you mine.
All I got was the grant information.
The Murma page just said all the different grants.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you have that. Okay, good.
That's in my copy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
You got one.
Yeah, this is available online too. And
I was not related to this. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure I remembered.
You've already got a couple of these grants.
Yeah, we've been using the bumper guards for the first couple of years, and they're giving them to us because they help on the cardiers when they're properly installed. And there's a couple of several of these things are things I talked about the other day.
Yeah.
Like the live scan fingerprinting, it's up to 2 locations.
Well, that's what triggered my brain to make sure it said you had that.
We're due for a new restraint chair for the jail. But I highlighted quite a few of these that, as long as we're not exceeding what we're allotted for the year, they're pretty good about hooking us up with this stuff because it saves them liability costs.
Well, we talked about using the Arpa funds too. So if this can help us spread that money out a little better, then
yeah, for sure. And it would.
Yeah.
If they pay half and
yeah,
pay the other half.
That's what I'm saying. It definitely should be part of the discussion with the committee.
Yeah, I think
Arpa committee.
The grants for these are pretty easy to do. My undersheriff's been doing the one, and I don't think it's too difficult at all.
Okay.
But like anything else, you pay for it up front, and they pay you back half of it. And they treated us well. We had a lawsuit recently that was summarily dismissed, and she's appealing it right now, of course. But they took very good care of us on that, I thought.
Good.
And I don't know if we had a deductible on that or not, but they did take real good care of us.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to adapt the policy as presented for the Oconee County Security Kiosk policy?
I will make that motion.
Oh, motion by Terry, supported by Bill, I assume.
Who has ownership of this policy?
This policy was a recommendation from our committee to you, so I think it
So the
probably has to
security,
be adopted by you all.
I believe, I think this is true in all policies. We need to list the ownership. Where did it come from? So that if there's an issue or a question with it, or if it needs to be looked at in 2, 3, 4 years, we know who to turn to. I mean, should we go to the treasurer? Should we go to the security commission? Committee?
The committee was the ones that put it together.
But I would like to see that listed. On.
Who's the
It's on the
recommendation of the security
heading,
commission?
Oconee County Security Kiosk Policy. So it would be a security,
Well.
Or just amend the motion to include security committee.
Right, but I think we're not really a rule-making body, we're more of a recommending body.
Right,
You're
right,
recommending. Will that be good
Even
enough?
though that says it's our policy.
No, we have to own this. Commissioners have to own this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. And by making this motion, we are.
Any further discussion?
will that be included in the Oconee County policy book?
Yeah. It's, I'm sure over the next weeks and months, we're gonna find 1,000 reasons how to edit this and change it, so it'll be treated as a living document, and we'll just have to re-vote to, amend as we go.
Another suggestion maybe is that we just had the risk management guy here a minute ago. I get a ton of my policies from them. I don't know what they have for county buildings, but they may have something that can guide us on this a little bit too, on verbiage and how to protect ourselves with this. So maybe a quick call to the just left here. Would be wise.
Security committee can do that.
Thanks, Dan.
Timmy, yours good.
Any further comment? Okay, I'll do, well, does any prefer roll call, or can I just do all those in favor? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Don't think I'm gonna hear what this one. Does she have something?
I think she just came down with the security thing here,
Oh,
in case we didn't approve it.
okay. Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna get emails and phone calls starting tomorrow, I know that.
I think they'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
Mine will be full.
that's why Carolyn wanted to have somebody else in.
Chairman, I would move the adoption of resolution 2021-08.
I have a motion,
I'll second that.
motion by Carolyn, second by Dan for ARPA resolution 2021-08.
It's the county treasurer to establish the.
Yeah, let's say what it is real quick for the general public.
Give this over to Cheryl. Cheryl,
Nation
Stephanie,
of
give
the-
each one of those. Oh, one's for you. Oh, I get one. Yeah,
American Rescue Plan Act.
pass them down.
The creation of the fund for the American Rescue Plan Act, right?
Right.
Fund one, what was it? Fund
281.
281. Okay. Any further discussion? This is money, probably have to have a roll call.
Brady,
Yes.
Gothier,
Yes.
Drummond,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Small.
Yes.
Next item is ARPA committee appointments. We had a special meeting 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. And there were some suggested people to sit on that committee. In front of you here, we have Oh, Dan Gothier, do we do them one at a time or do them all at
No,
once?
I was gonna make a motion. Want me to make the motion first?
Go for it.
Okay.
Support.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the formation of a new core committee for the purpose of overseeing rules and regulations of the American Rescue Plan Act. The members of this committee shall include Dan Gothier, County Commissioner, William Thompson, County Commissioner, Sheriff Scott Stevenson, Treasurer Cheryl Franks, Prosecutor Tom Weichel, EMS/Emergency Director Scott Rice. Primary duties shall include development of a strategic plan for expenditures of the monies available, information of subcommittees that allow for complete representation of Oklahoma County.
Okay, motion by Dan and supported by Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, that takes care of new business. Let's go into the finance report. You got anything, Dan?
No,
I don't really either. We didn't get a chance to meet last week with the finance committee, so.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
But Cheryl,
Oh, you have some
but
for us?
Cheryl knows that we do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, she emailed me. That's right.
These are, the information that was put in everyone's box back in June. And everyone had that for informational purposes. And there were 2 items that needed board. Turns out there were 2 items that needed board approval. And those are attached. This is an update to that. And those were, the bottom line of the marine law enforcement was increased by 10,350. And contingency transfers out was reduced 10,350. All the other changes that were on the information that I gave to you were approved by finance, but these 2 needed to be addressed by the board because it was coming out of a transfer out of a contingency. And a little background on that, the marine law enforcement grant was increased and some of the unexpected expenditures for the sheriff's department with termination pay, they weren't anticipating termination. He covered that within his own budget, and that totaled approximately, the increase of his grant was approximately $4,000, and the changes that he covered within his budget without pulling it out of the contingency or general fund in any other way except for within his department was about $8,000. So I felt that this would be a proper way to go because the generally payroll expenses like that come out of general fund and the contingency line item when they're unanticipated. But he was able to cover those with funds from his own line items. That is what this is in regards to.
So we need a motion, right?
Yep, we need a motion to transfer.
Well, okay.
10,350 out of contingency and for the law enforcement, the marine law enforcement increase.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, from finance, I'd like to make a motion that we increase expenditures from 6,433 to 16,783, an increase of 10,350 in the marine grant funding. And then we would transfer 10,350 from 101-890-999-000 contingency transfer to cover the increase in expenses for expenses for marine law enforcement, leaving a balance of 22,650 available for any unanticipated expenditures.
Support.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion?
Drummond,
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Gothier.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's it for finance.
Might be one more, sorry. This is the housing request,
Oh, yeah.
the housing one. Oh, take one. That is the information. There was a check that was gonna be written, or supposed to be written, and then line item wasn't there. Turns out that there was.
Oh, sure.
She had
Sorry.
budgeted expenses for her project costs in the housing. And so her bottom line is increasing. $35. There was a bill presented that I didn't have enough dollars to cover it because it wasn't budgeted. There was no budget for it.
Okay. So she got that income or loan repayment from Mishta of that 35,000 is what happened, right?
Well, she already had budgeted 35,000 for Mishta
Okay.
and expended it here. The majority of the costs that were covered were the contractual services, her services.
Oh.
But she didn't put any program like repairs or spending that money. So the 35,000 she asked to be brought out of the fund balance.
What does that leave in her fund balance? You know, approximately? Never mind.
I did not
That's
own that
okay.
information. I apologize.
I would so move.
Motion by Carolyn,
I'll support it.
second by Dan. To modify the Fund 536 as recommended. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Small,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Drummond,
Yes.
Gothier.
Yes.
All right. Good info, good time. Good job. Okay, then, if we're ready, we'll move on to personnel report.
The only thing we would ask, as you knew or know, the POLC command contract was approved. You approved it in concept 2 weeks ago, and it's ready for signatures now, and I would move to authorize the chair to sign the contract.
Support.
Motion by Carolyn, seconded by Bill to approve the chair to sign the POLC contract, command contract.
And I'm sure that you've reviewed it all.
Same thing.
Just a little.
Just asking. I'm sure he
And the
did.
sheriff has, and the under-sheriff has, Bill has. I think we've covered the waterfront on it relatively well.
Need a roll call for Union?
Yeah.
We better have a roll call on this then.
Gothier,
Yes.
Drummond,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Yeah, it's money. You're right. When do we start with the Teamsters?
We
We're
already put,
working on it now.
Excellent.
we've already pulled the request out. And then also the EMS is falling in there too.
Okay. So next item is treasurer's report.
Oh. taking tax payments, looking over the budgets, we do have a few that still need to be addressed, but that's gonna be with finance, and we'll get to that maybe Friday, if
Yeah.
that works for everybody.
Friday works for us.
I did get a letter from the DNR. There's a property, whether you're interested or not, for sale that is owned by the DNR. I don't know how interested you are in subdivisions, but there's a few properties they're selling off. They wanted you to be aware. Our tax sale information is now up on tax-sale.info. We have 11 properties that are going up for sale. I've heard nothing on the settlement of the lawsuit that we weeks ago. Still waiting on information, and the class action suit that you are all involved in. Working on last year's tax sale report with a breakout, which is going to be a little bit different than it has been, because we'll have those monies held in escrow. And we're gonna open up a separate bank account for that ARPA funding. And M-Bank, the one that we have approved, is now changing to a different flowery name. So I'll have to change that in our records and have them fill out all our paperwork as well once that happens, once the merger happens in September.
You know, that's kind of interesting because I got that too. I mean, they're now merging with the bank out of northern Wisconsin. They've moved really a lot of stuff to northern Michigan, to the UP. I mean, I just kind of wonder what their intentions are. If they're, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. It seems like they're just.
Well, we're required to have one. I mean, I'd like to see it kept in Michigan, and we'll look around. We don't have a whole lot of options in the area for banking services.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting though.
It's really where we are. We're going over the grants and getting those into the general ledger. Kind of pick those piece by piece and getting finished up with the audit, and we'll be in touch with them, and I'll be in touch with them by the end of the week and see what we've got and keep you updated.
Okay, thank you. Clerk's report.
Court's open back up now, so that a lot of court, they're making up for lost time for sure. A lot of jury trials. Second round of the jury qualification questionnaires just went out. And after about a month waiting for those to come back into the mail, the jury board will meet probably in August, so that the next year's jurors are ready to go effective September 1st. There were a couple of communications I missed making onto the agenda, and those are the last 3 attachments. I have that ballot for MML if anybody wants to go. And there was something from Lenny also in there. I'm not sure if you guys were able to review that. It was in regard to a survey.
Yeah, I got that. Right.
ICANN survey, okay. And then the other one was that State Tax Commission approved that Alan Berg as that the assessor. And also, as far as finance goes, the payroll, Tina started working on the salaries with all of the new contracts and stuff for 2022. She's not quite done yet, maybe about halfway.
Okay,
good, thank you.
Can I jump back?
Yeah.
You mentioned ACCOA. Carolyn, the fund balance in the housing is 179,162.
How much?
179,162. So
I was thinking
utilizing the
150,
35
but that's okay.
would be okay.
Thank you.
ACCOA, that prompted when she said that, Lenny. I've been approached by the pilot, the people that are putting together the project for the Village of Lincoln in regards to tax dollars. They're building a housing unit, or looking into building a housing unit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, that was news to me too, because I was asked some information on it, which I wasn't even aware of it 3 weeks ago, that project was happening. So to be jump in at this point was kind of surprising to me, but so I've been in communication with one of the individuals, and I did get to hear their discussion meeting that they had 2 weeks ago. So I've been working with one of the project coordinators in regards to dollar amounts and how they would be allocated. Although I'm not familiar with the program, I had referred her to the Guston Township because I don't believe they've been approached in regards to any.
Well, I read it in the paper 2 weeks ago. That's when or whenever it was. I found out that they're going to do it in the village of Lincoln now. Because I was involved when they were planning to do it in by the clinic. But
Okay, and that may be something, because what the village charges, there's also property taxes. That's why my question was, and I had advised her to maybe talk to the state tax commission. Because if you live in the village of Lincoln, you're paying general operating and streets, but you're also paying your township tax because the village overlies the township. So I would think that the township may have a stake in that as well. And I do have Lincoln Manor was a pilot program back years ago, and I do have some information that I haven't had an opportunity to review. So I just wanted to put that out there.
so whatever way they're doing to set this up, there's a tax capture involved where they're trying to get monies.
Not the DDA, but it would be a service fee on how, as opposed to ad valorem taxes. That's how the program works. And I was just kind of surprised by it when it all came about, and I got questions because I wasn't aware of it.
Well, they're trying to do everything very fast, and that's why and that's why we're getting last minute. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm interested in that information for sure.
I will pull the information that I have found and share it with the appropriate township and village and coordinator, because I would think the assessor would want to be involved.
Well, I would think they would go and approach all those boards
And
before they pull the trigger on this stuff. So
I know they have been in communication and even walked the property with Sheila Phillips, the township, the village president. I think she's the president.
It's just something
That took place almost a month ago, well, 3 weeks ago anyway. That I know she and Lenny walked the property and had extensive conversations.
that's interesting. Yeah, I would be interested to figure out how that works, or find out, not figure it out, but find out, is it extra tax on top of what it is, or is it captured out of some other?
No, it's just a service fee. And they do have some of those programs. If the HUD is financing it, then they don't pay the ad valorem tax, they pay a service fee.
Huh.
And
Okay.
that's separated to the entities based on the millage rates.
Okay. Oh, the ACCOA millage.
The millage, no.
No?
Just
Okay, well then,
nothing to do.
never mind. I'm not gonna quit making comments, and I'll learn at the appropriate time, not right now. My apologies.
Because this ACCOA program, this is a HUD program that they're
Right.
working with.
Actually, I thought that's what I was going to do, was getting the grants or whatever.
I don't have enough information. I haven't
I
been
don't
given
either.
enough information to answer that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, oh, good. We'll have to reach out and get some education on us.
Maybe somebody will reach out to us a little bit. with
Well, I'll
this
probably have to reach first. All right, anything else? Okay, you have your communications is attached, and then Stephanie sent us additional items. I mentioned them a minute ago. How about committee reports? Let's start with.
If we could stay on communications just
Absolutely.
a moment, please. I received
Oh,
a
that's right,
letter
sorry.
from Sue Lovelace. She is resigning from her board position the end of this month. And I I think, a DHHS board, I think that probably an ad, I don't believe we have anybody's resume waiting to get onto that board. And I think perhaps an ad in the newspaper would be appropriate. It is our responsibility to put a third person, it will be a third person. She's already resigned. This is July. She's already resigned. I'm sorry.
Didn't we
So-
just have, did we just add somebody to that last year?
Not, yes, we did.
Yeah, that's what
We
I
did.
thought.
So as I said, I don't, to my knowledge, we don't have any resumes sitting in a, we want to kind of file. So we would need to advertise for that again.
Is that a motion?
I will, yeah.
Motion by Carolyn to advertise for the vacancy in the DHS board.
Support.
Seconded by Bill. All those in favor? We're paying money. No, just all those in favor?
Just to advertise it in the paper? No.
Yep, all right.
Yeah. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
You want to do the library under communications with the email that you got?
Yeah, let's do that too. You want to take it, run with it?
Adam got an email from Denise Baird from the library, and in their bylaws, it states that a trustee is, if they miss more than 3 or more consecutive unexplained, unexcused meetings, that they can be removed from the board. And they've got an individual that they've had communication with, and he has missed over 4 visits, maybe 4 months worth of stuff. And they request us to approve them to remove him from the board and then to advertise for that position. It's for Justin Wilson. And,
Did we approve the policy when it went into effect? I think the answer to that is no.
I have no idea when their bylaws went into effect.
I don't believe we've ever approved them. And so my point being, they're their bylaws. They need to be the ones to say, thank you very much for your service, but.
Which they will, but what it says is here, under their bylaws, is the Board of Commissioners may be approached to remove that member. It's just basically a quorum. Upon a vote of quorum of their board, the Board of Commissioners may be approached to remove that member in this case, the procedure outlined above. So all they're asking for is basically approval.
Us to do, they're asking approval for them to do it or for us to, oh,
They will take care of the
Approval for them to remove.
They're just asking for they're following their protocol.
Yeah, in the same spirit of when we approve for them to have a new member.
I say, we are the ones that appoint
Yeah.
the members. So from that perspective, it does make sense. They're asking for us to approve them to dismiss him.
Yes.
Correct.
I would move to, I'm going to say recommend, but I think we need a stronger words in it. I don't want to use the word enforce, to proceed under their bylaws,
Right, follow their bylaws.
follow the bylaws that they have.
I support.
Moved and supported.
Okay, but doesn't their bylaws say that they're supposed to do this first? They should remove them? Or am I-
Well,
they
go ahead.
They have decided they want to remove him.
Okay,
But
why don't
the
they
board-
keep going with that?
Well, they will, but the Board of Commissioners also approves when there's a new member, the Board of Commissioners has to approve a new member.
Right, and I
to sit.
understand all that.
So in that spirit, we'd have to also approve for them to let
Okay,
a
but
member
have
go.
they physically done anything as far as removing this person?
Well,
They've
this
written a
is, the
letter.
email was, there was a motion by Foster, second by Lawyer, to recommend the Alcona County Board of Commissioners that Justin Wilson be removed as a trustee, Alcona County
So that
Library,
board
effective
stuff.
immediately
Okay.
to due to violation of bylaws by missing 4 or more meetings. And then they have a roll call. And
Sounds like they've covered
then
that.
what they did is they sent this email to Adam so that we can approve that action.
And I sent it to Bill because he's on that board.
Right.
That's why I didn't try to pass the buck on that one. Just so
Covered the bases.
Bill sits on that board, and I didn't want to blindside him with it on a meeting day. So
No, that's all. So we got motion. Yeah,
You got a motion, you seconded.
Got a motion, a second. Carolyn's a motion, second is Bill. We'll, no further discussion, we'll do a roll call.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes,
Gothier,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
good for them for following their.
A lot of people
That's not
don't,
easy to
Motion
do.
some of
carries.
them don't even know where their bylaws are.
That's a true statement.
We don't have any to look for.
That is a true statement. Okay, how about committee reports, starting with Terry?
And I attended our district health meeting the other day. I would say they're getting back to business, other business, that other than just the virus though. One of the things I noticed, our communications from Kalamazoo County, talking about the mental health systems. Sitting on that board, I hadn't heard comments like that before, that they're a little bit nervous about that. I have a meeting tomorrow with mental health, and I'll be talking to the director a little more about that subject.
Okay.
I'll bring you up stuff maybe next meeting. More information.
Thank you. Dan?
It's been a while. I mean, did I comment on NEMSCA and Michigan Works, or was that after our last meeting? It's been like 3 weeks.
That was probably after.
Okay, so I attended Michigan Works and NEMCOG in person for the first time in Gaylord a couple Thursdays ago. Michigan Works, if anybody knows anybody that wants to change careers, wants to do anything, they have got money just hanging all over the place trying to get money to retrain people to workers because they can't find anybody. I mean, there's nobody coming in. Their offices are back open, appointment only. They're going to be open full time pretty quick. But I mean, they actually had a workshop a couple weeks ago. Had employers there. Over 50 jobs could have been given out that day. They had 7 people show up. They're just not getting anybody, and they've got funding on top of funding on top of funding. It's pretty crazy. And one of the board members asked, well, I have a good friend in Sheboygan, and she's going to change her career and go into nursing. And is there anything available for her? And the answer from Mary Sue was, yeah, just have her call us. We've got stuff. So if anybody knows anybody that wants to retrain, is looking to go into whether skilled trades, nursing, anything, Michigan Works is where you want to go. There's tons of money. And another thing that came out of there too is that at that point in time, it was estimated 187,000 ladies have left the workforce in Michigan since COVID hit, which is crazy. A lot of
4 of us are
numbers.
still around.
That is a
I was
lot
gonna say
of
that
numbers.
was to take care of the children, I
Yeah,
suspect, because of the schools being.
Whatever, people just left, people were, so it's pretty crazy. NEMCOG, we didn't have enough people there for a quorum. Still had a good meeting. I think people were still kind of nervous about meeting and that they need to have, I think 13 of us there to have a quorum. So, but all in all, that was good. So that's what I've met so far.
Okay, Bill.
Just not much on the meeting line. I was wondering if did we do anything with the letter of intent for the forestry division building?
The forestry division, Tom did a rough draft.
Right.
And we sent the rough draft over to our forester, who was going to move it on last week and talk to some of the higher up. And I emailed them yesterday morning, and I have not heard back from them.
So we're still
So
pursuing it.
right now,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the county fair would like to know if we could put a banner down at the corner on the property for the county.
Gee, I wonder if we should do that.
Well, we were asking permission for it.
I think we ought to grant it.
Probably we need to vote on it. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Get hold of Dave.
Pardon?
Get hold of Dave.
Yeah. Other than that, that's about, but the holidays, I haven't had too much. So I'm done.
Carolyn?
We've already dealt with the open position now in the, if I may, as a side note, we might as well do a double ad, one for the library and one for DHHS in the same ad.
Does the library have their own budget for that?
Well, yeah,
Would they do it? Would they do the library?
We're the ones that have to appoint it.
Yeah,
No, we
well,
could wait for a recommendation from them.
yeah, I
if
think
we
they
want
would
to.
put the ad in. Yeah.
Okay.
And they would recommend to us a member once they pick.
We did not have a 911 meeting this month, which is pretty about 50-50 that we do or don't in July. Took care of 211 invoices. Sunrise meeting was fairly routine. We're looking at doing an we're in the process of doing a reevaluation of payroll up there. And it's been extensive and been taking a little bit of my time. And totally unrelated to the county, but really cool, I think. We've restarted our Veterans Coffee Hour down at the church and in person. And it was so nice to have as many there as we had there. So Veterans Coffee Hour, first and third Thursday from 9 to 11.
How many did you have, Carolyn, this time?
Pardon?
How many did you?
10,
10?
which for us is good. Normally, we've had days when it's been crappy, when it's been 2, but we usually run 4 to 6, but
Try to get over sometime.
so we were really happy about it. It was just good to be back together.
Okay, well, we'll move on to final public comment, limited to 5 minutes. And we don't have any online, looks like.
Oh, Scott.
Scott?
Be addressed. Because it's by July 14th.
Oh, it's done.
Oh, okay.
It's all done.
Already done. Sorry, Scott.
Oh, maybe I will go into more detail on it under final comments.
I've got the write-offs for EMS for the months of May and June of 2021. For May, it's $27,034.80. The month of June, it's $36,018 even.
You have that in hard copy so I can put it in the general ledger?
I can hear you, Cheryl.
You have it in hard copy so I can enter that into the general ledger?
Yeah, I can give you mine. I don't have all 21 pages, but just the ones that count.
I just need a number with some
Yeah,
backup.
I got more at the office. It's not a problem.
All right, thank you.
And then one other question I have for the board is, have you considered or given it any more thought on the fiduciary for the Region 3 for the Homeland Security to manage the grants for the next, was it 2 years or 3 years?
We already responded.
Okay.
By letter.
That's all I have.
Anyone else? All right.
I have something.
Okay, great.
Well, I want to thank the board for signing our union contracts and I have to say with that, since April, the deputies have been making the same amount of money as our undersheriff. And with the signing of the command officers union, they're making what I make. And so typically we have somewhere established that the undersheriff makes $1,500 a year more than the command staff and the sheriff 3,000 more. I don't know when or how that was established or what criteria, but this is what I printed up for you to consider. Taking a look at. Not big on asking for raises or anything, but it's not real appropriate that our staff is making what we are or more in some circumstances.
Yep, take it under advisement.
Yeah, we can move this to finance on.
Do you want a
Yep.
motion on this?
Nope.
Okay. I would concur with this though. It is
No,
what-
we're in public comment, so we're
Oh,
not
I'm
in
sorry.
motion mode.
Let's take this over to finance.
Did we need
Yeah, sure that.
Okay. We got a finance meeting on Friday, so we'll take it up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We had to sign the other contract, so I had to for this one.
Okay, If there's no other public comment, then final commissioner comments, concerns.
I should have perhaps gone into greater length when I mentioned the drug lawsuit. The lawsuit that we've been involved in, the drug lawsuit that is a federal lawsuit. We've been in it since I think the late or mid 2018. One of the pharmaceutical companies has declared bankruptcy and is that bankruptcy, we need to either go along with it or not. Our attorneys recommended that we go along with it. Talked very briefly with Tom about it. And this happened with one of the other companies also. So I have already responded that yes, we would vote yes on the proposed bankruptcy filing of Purdue Pharmaceuticals. And maybe I'll never be here by the time before this is finished. Maybe by 2025, you might see $1,000 or $100 out of it.
Did we not already get paid from that
Pardon?
lawsuit? Did we not already get paid from that lawsuit, or is that a different?
No, this is a different one. This one is,
Yeah. We got
Pardon?
money. Did we not? 2 years ago?
not this one. Not that I'm aware of. We haven't gotten anything. It goes on and on. And so there is no cost to us. Our cost will be taken out of the findings on our behalf. We won't owe, even if we don't come out with anything, we won't owe anything. So I keep getting things similar to this. And that's just an update on it. So, and I would be happy to share the file with anyone who would like to read all of it. And then there's a test afterwards.
Anybody else? Additional comments? All right, then the meeting's adjourned until July 21st.